even though he was younger in years than me, he treated me very much like a child. And I'm sure there was something there too that's like above both our pay grades here. But I think that's some related to how he got into my head. And another thing is that
glad you did, but yeah, I mean that's like a lot to see at a young age. And then, you know, like we were saying, you're also going through that phase too, like the angsty, I don't know, teenager years.
Yeah.
Something like that. What was dating like in high school, or boys? Was that a thing?
Yeah, and it's something that I really want to write a second book, because there were so many things that I didn't have room to write about in my first book, and I really wanted to write about. And I think, especially because I think that from the research that I've done, that especially girls who would get this diagnosis of being on the spectrum, it's almost inevitable that you're going to get taken advantage of, because there's something about not being able to read people's intentions that you can kind of more easily walk into situations. And I think that I certainly never learned boundaries. So there were just a lot of things that happened that I would go along with. And
what kinds of things? Because this is you're in high school. So what kinds of things would these be?
I mean, I think I would end up hooking up with guys when I didn't necessarily want to, because I don't know, or I would feel like I'm supposed to, or stuff like that. Like there was nobody. I ended up always wishing that I had an older brother who would sort of look out for me and scrutinize my dates and be like, where is this guy taking you? And I just sort of felt like nobody was really looking after me in that way. So
your dad wasn't paying attention to the guys you were dating?
No, I mean, I think because also I wasn't living with my dad. I only went there once or twice a week for dinner or Sunday brunch or something. And so he wasn't around all that much. But I think there was a lot of assuming that I was fine and not really asking. But I remember when I was 15, my boyfriend for a while was, he was 23.
You were dating a 23-year-old at age 15.
All this stuff just seemed normal. Yeah, he was a graduate student at Harvard.
You were dating a graduate student at Harvard when you were a freshman in high school.
I was 15, so I might have been a sophomore.
Either way. I mean,
I know. It seems weird now, especially when I look at 15-year-olds now.
That's a Class A felony in 50 states and Puerto Rico.
Right. He was. It's funny because I'm still we're like Instagram friends. We ended up breaking up. It was like we just decided we were better off friends.
Oh God.
But
okay. All right. It's clocking to me. It's clocking to me. So. All right, so you're not having trouble getting guys. You're just getting different guys than other people get at this time. And you're getting, so at age 15, you are dating someone who's an adult who, even looking back on it, I don't even know if you possibly could. I mean, I wasn't you, so I can't put myself there, but there could be things that he's instilling in you about what a relationship dynamic is supposed to be like that is not what it's like at all, that then becomes your norm because that's what you know.
Yeah. I mean, I think overall, there was a real, I never learned boundaries. But again, as I say, I got lucky in these various situations because, you know, that guy was like a nice dude. He wasn't, I know it sounds weird, but and then also when we ended up sort of breaking up, we just I think he certainly. I mean, I remember one time we were going to meet his parents, and he was like, "Oh, you got to tell them you're like a student at Harvard." I was like, "I can't do that. I can't lie and say I'm like a student at Harvard."
This should have been in the Bad Vegan documentary. I am going to say that they had a real miss on this one. But please continue.
I think because all my siblings were older. And I was friends with all of my sister's friends, that the fact that I was hanging around with him so much.
Oh, they knew about it.
Didn't seem weird to my parents. Yeah.
Wait, your parents knew you were dating a 23-year-old?
I don't really know what they knew. But I know he came to my 16th birthday dinner. at my dad's house.
Oh my God.
I know.
How'd you introduce him? This is my friend in the senior class. Like, don't ask which senior.
I don't know. They were, I had another friend who I'm still actually good friends with now, who was a lot older, and we were good friends, which was weird. A dude, who actually he's the one who took this photograph on the back of my book, and we're still friends. It was like a weird friendship. I don't know. I was just around a lot of older people because my sister was older, and
besides
so we're all
actually
friends.
just the proximity of who you're hanging around, which certainly that plays a huge role. You're 100% right about that. What drew you to that guy? Like, was this your first boyfriend, by the way?
No.
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 Oh, you were a veteran at 15, huh?
Oh yeah. No, my first boyfriend was a boy named Jason Penny, who was a really cute skateboarding guy.
Shout out Jason, wherever you are.
I've got a thing for, still, like, to this day, if I hear a skateboard on the street, I'm like, ooh, cute boy. So yeah, he was a skateboarder, and he was my first boyfriend.
How old were you?
I don't remember. Probably 13.
Okay. Was this like a real, like I had a girlfriend when I was 9, but you know, it wasn't real. You know what I mean? Was this real, or was it, just like, oh, this is my friend?
No, I mean, I think my very young self was, if you could be in love at that age, I liked him a lot. But yeah. And then after that, I didn't talk about, I don't think I talked about this. I think I wrote this whole story in my original draft, but I cut it out because of space. But I lost my virginity, not in like a very wholesome way. I didn't realize it was going to happen, and I was 14, and it was a guy who was much older.
How much older?
I think he was 21. And yeah, and I wasn't expecting it to happen, and then it did, and yeah, and I did the whole, like, spent a long time in the shower when I got home, but
wait, if I ask questions that you don't want to go into, you can totally stop. There's just a lot of psychological things here that I think are important. Do you mind telling that story, like how that occurred?
I think by that time I was used to, being with guys in a certain way. And when you're young, I mean, I don't know, you remember the whole, like, first base, second base, third base. So
I'm pretty sure I got all those bases in one shot for the first time. It was like, there was a long build up to that, but yeah.
Yeah, so I think I'd been exposed to various bases and just wasn't really prepared for that last one coming through. And maybe that's part of just getting myself into that situation. Maybe that's related to why people who have that diagnosis, females, tend to end up in these situations where it's like, I'm just not reading the situation right. And I did tell him to stop, and then he did, but it was like, yeah, wasn't expecting that. So
wait, you told him to stop, so he had already begun, but he didn't.
Yeah, I mean, this was such a long time ago, but weird part of the story is this is an older guy. He'd been in the Marines, and he was like a skinhead guy. Still follows me on Instagram, and I still know who he is and where he is. But he had this teddy bear on his bed, which was just weird. He's this dude in the Marines, and
skinhead with a teddy bear.
Skinhead. He had this teddy bear, and I really liked it. And so the next day, he left it at my house for me, and then I had that teddy bear for, like, I still would have it if I hadn't lost all my belongings in this whole situation. But for some reason, I had that teddy bear for a really long time. And
that's not the 21-year-old who you lost your virginity to. That's a different guy? Or same guy?
No, he's the one who gave
Oh,
me the
that.
teddy bear. Yeah.
Oh, that's the same guy.
Yeah. So
He was a Marine.
yeah. And I wasn't like, I wasn't mad. That's the thing. I just, you know, I wasn't angry at him. But yeah, so that's my story. You heard it here first.
But you told so. Yeah, it seems like you're just like a lot of that's bottled up. You told him to stop, and then he did stop.
Yeah.
So you don't. Do you? Do you
Like
think
a lot
you?
of these situations, I think we end up accepting all the responsibility because I hadn't objected early enough, or I hadn't objected. You know, it's not like today when there's so much conversation now around consent and about talking about stuff ahead of time, and that just wasn't a thing back then. So
Yeah, but you're not like 90 years old. I mean,
Right.
you know, this isn't that long ago.
right,
And like either way, whether or not the semantics of like it happened and you were like, oh, I don't want this, and then he stopped, it's not even relevant because he's 21 and you were 14. That's rape
yeah.
in
No,
every
I'm very
state.
aware that nowadays it would be very, very different, for sure.
Even I would love to check it back in the early 90s, late 80s, make sure that was a law, but I'm pretty sure that was even a law back then in most states. I mean, you weren't in Alabama, but sorry, Alabama. But, you know, it's like that there's a lot of things that can happen in someone's life where it doesn't feel like something at the time.
Right.
And then that bottles up and manifests in a lot of other ways. And so you, at these years you're talking about, which are all basically 13, 14, 15, 16, you're doing LSD, you're having boyfriends who aren't boyfriends, they're legally pedophiles. Yeah, and that's what's normal to you. They obviously, your brain is not fully developed yet at all. Theirs is at least mostly developed and legally developed. They're holding some sort of power over you. There's some sort of it's like whatever that is there as well. And this is when you're going through puberty and accepting how things are around you. And so you start to formulate how the world works. And to you, this is perfectly normal. And even now, hearing you talk about it, you don't talk like, you know, it's not normal, but you're not talking about it in a way like, holy shit. You're more like, yeah, this happened. It's fucked up. And, you know, but I got past it. And it's like that's so far beyond the bounds. I don't even know how to put myself in those kinds of shoes. I'm also a guy too.
Yeah.
So I'm already operating at a loss here, trying to figure out the other dynamic from the other side of the gender divide here. But you know what I mean? Like those are some big steps that you were forced to take early that no one should have to take.
Hey guys, if you haven't already subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. It's a huge, huge help. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's why I wanted to write a lot about. I wanted to write a lot more about this stuff in some sort of a subsequent book, because you know what I think what happens is I didn't grow up. I didn't have a lot of boundaries, and then when you carry that forward, it ends up being carried forward as a lot of shame and feeling bad about yourself a lot of the time. And so later on, it made it probably a lot easier for people to get to me and get what they want
100%.
from me.
And also, like, there's these little symbols as well that make a ton of sense. Like you mentioned the teddy bear for a second. I thought you were going to another guy for a minute there, but now it makes way more sense that it was the same exact guy you were talking about. So I didn't think the 21-year-old would possibly be the Marine, but apparently he was. But like that's like a childlike thing.
Yeah.
And you see innocence in a teddy bear, and you're holding on to that.
If I showed you a picture of what my bed looks like at home, like whenever, if like somebody comes in to fix something in my apartment right now, I always think, oh God, they probably think there's like a 5-year-old lives here. Cause I've got these 2 giant rabbits, a huge octopus, like, you know, I've got all these stuffed animals and yeah. And I'm 53, but I did see somewhere some interesting study that correlated adults who sleep with stuffed animals with something positive, and now I can't remember what it was, but I was like, I felt validated.
No, I don't think I don't think you should feel in any way strange about that at all. I think it has to do with like the way that you, I don't know, the way that you persevered, the way that you compartmentalize things. And I think that was part of it. Like there was some innocence in that. And it also makes a lot of sense too that you were like so close with your dog during all these years when this stuff ended up happening
Yeah.
as well. And
Yeah.
like that was like the love of your life and everything, because you probably, I don't know, I'm getting really beyond my pay grade of like psychology here, but I might imagine there's some sort of connection between, you know, the safe stuffed teddy bear
Yeah.
and then the dog that's actually alive and can feel things and stuff, which is nice. There's some sort of safety valve that you invented for yourself there.
Yeah. And I think, you know, this guy who came into my life later, which I call in my book, I call him Mr. Fox just because it's easier because he changed the name. Even though he was younger in years than me, he treated me very much like a child. And I'm sure there was something there too that's like above both our pay grades here. But I think that's some related to how he got into my head. And another thing is that having been exposed now to so many people, women and some men, who've been on the other side of kind of a horrendous upending your whole life, mind fucking psychological manipulation, because it happens to men too, but I think more often women. What's so common is having rescue dogs and even like rescue pits, but rescue dogs. And there's just a super strong correlation there. So I think there's something about specifically being drawn to animals and shelters and rescue animals and wanting to save them with something where like you kind of want to be saved yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah. So then it makes you that much more vulnerable when somebody can sniff that out, which is what these people do. They're incredibly good at sniffing that out. And then they come in and they're like, I'm going to save you.
Thank you guys for checking out this clip. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe and hit the like button on this video. It is a huge, huge help. And if you'd like to check out this clip's full podcast episode, that link is in the description below or right here. And finally, you can follow me on Instagram and X by using the links in my description below.